Tianxian frowned, a cold light flashed in her eyes. She chose to hold back at first, just not wanting people to know that the Ninth Emperor's people bullied the weak like bullying ants. If people repeatedly provoked her and ignored it, people might think that the Ninth Emperor's people were cowardly and did not dare to fight back. Moreover, Tianxian was a wolf girl. Wolves were violent and ferocious, and only the Ninth Emperor could make her suppress her inner mania. Now when she heard the servant's words, her aura turned cold, causing the entire hall's temperature to drop quite a bit. "Ali," Mu Qingya frowned and coldly interrupted. "Ali, forget it. If others do not know the manners, we cannot do anything. This is what my mother taught me as a child. Just ignore these people. Do not let someone say that the imperial family is a bully. Let's go. Father and mother are still waiting for us at home." Mu Qingya glanced at Tianxian, turned around, and walked toward the back. "Dealing with these people will only ruin my reputation. What will I get even if I win? What a waste of time." Suddenly, Tianxian grabbed a cup and smashed it on the servant's head. She was so fast that no one could notice it break on the servant's head. Blood flowed from the back of her head, followed by a scream that echoed throughout the restaurant. Dongfang Yu froze and turned to Tianxian. "Didn't we say we can't embarrass the Ninth Empress here?" Tianxian looked at Dongfang Yu and said, "The others are so provocative. Do you want the world to say that the Ninth Emperor's people are easy to bully? Won't it be even more humiliating then?" Dongfang Yu thought her words were reasonable and nodded in approval. "That's right. We are representing the Ninth Emperor, so we must not let her be embarrassed." Mu Qingya slowly turned sideways and saw her servant, Ali, falling into a pool of blood. She froze for a long time before rushing toward Ali anxiously. "Ali, me for extra chapters." Mu Qingya's face was filled with sorrow and anxiety. The people inside the tavern were also dumbfounded. No one had expected that these two women would dare to attack noble Lada's servant. Moreover, this matter was their fault in the first place. Did they not know who noble lady was? And who were they to treat her so? When noble lady came, they had blocked her way. They should have allowed the noble lady to walk first. This was the proper etiquette. However, these people did not know the etiquette. When the servant tried to teach them a few times, they hit her cruelly and viciously. Mu Qingya's eyes reddened. She stood up from the ground, turned to Tianxian and Dongfang Yu, and said coldly, "You two girls. You are not only rude but also vicious. Even though Ali is a servant, she and I are like sisters, yet you want to kill her. If you want to hurt someone, it should be me, not Ali." Her face was filled with grief and anger. The crowd murmured to each other. Noble lady is really kind. Who would treat her servants like sisters as she does? Noble lady is so mighty, yet she does not treat her people as slaves, and there are still people who dare to treat her like this. I see that these two girls are born with evil hearts, like poisonous scorpion women who bully noble lady. Bad women. Chapter 2100, The Past Life 25, Indeed. These two have offended noble lady. They will be doomed. Unfortunately, noble lady is too kind. Usually, when her subordinates make mistakes, she never punishes them severely. If later these two women kneel and beg for mercy, maybe she will be soft-hearted. This kingdom doesn't need a soft-hearted person, but if that person is Mu Qingya, I only like her more. Strong men conquered this land, and the easily soft-hearted people would be hated and bullied. However, if the weak person was Mu Qingya, they really couldn't find the heart in them to hate her. All these years, Mu Qingya had fed the poor to help the world and saved many people. It was said that she had saved Fengyun Kingdom from a pandemic. If not for her, there would be no Fengyun Kingdom. Mu Qingya's face sank. She looked at Ali lying on the ground sorrowfully and ordered the guards to help her up. She then turned to Tian Xian coldly. I don't care. You must apologize to my servant now. Dongfang Yu laughed. If you really care about this servant, instead of making her stay here to accept an apology, you would have brought her in for treatment. Now I understand. The people of Fengyun Kingdom are blind. She heard those people's words clearly just now. Kindness. Ridiculous. Like sisters. It makes people want to laugh. She said she was like her real sister but did not care about her injuries and just make her stay here. A normal person would have brought her away long ago. Mu Qingjia's face stiffened. She clenched her hands tightly before slowly exhaling. This is for my servant's dignity. If you do not apologize to her, she will never accept treatment. It is not that I do not want to take her away. She lifted her chin proudly and with determination. Her servant had long fainted, unable to utter even a single word, and even needed 2 guards to hold her up. It was as if they were afraid that she had not left enough blood to survive. How should the servant accept their apology if she was already unconscious? The crowd heard Mu Qingjia's explanation and looked at Tian Xian and Dongfang Yu furiously. Up until this moment, these 2 women still dared to frame Noble Lady. Noble Lady said that she treated her servant as a sister. If there is no apology, her servant would rather die. They have hurt people to such an extent and refuse to apologize, yet, they still want to frame Noble Lady. They are simply ignorant. Noble Lady, in our opinion, it is better to arrest them and beat them until they apologize. Mu Qingjia's expression did not falter despite hearing what the crowd said. Her gaze was cold, expressionless. I don't like to punish anyone even if they have made many mistakes. Now, as long as they apologize to my servant, I will forgive them. What I want is just an apology. Seeing that Dongfang Yu was about to get up in anger, Tian Xian pressed down upon her shoulder and slowly stood up and walked toward Mu Qingya. You want us to apologize? Then, I would like to ask you just what we have done wrong. Earlier, your guards hurt us first, but we put up with that. Then, your servant was rude, but we put up with that, too. However, there is a limit to other people's patience. When I can't put up with things anymore, should I just sit still and do nothing about it? Chapter 2100, The Past Life 25-inch indeed. These 2 have offended Noble Lady. They will be doomed. Unfortunately, Noble Lady is too kind. Usually, when her subordinates make mistakes, she never punishes them severely. If later these 2 women kneel and beg for mercy, maybe she will be soft-hearted. This kingdom doesn't need a soft-hearted person, but if that person is Mu Qingya, I only like her more. Strong men conquered this land, and the easily soft-hearted people would be hated and bullied. Me for extra chapters. However, if the weak person was Mu Qingya, they really couldn't find the heart in them to hate her. All these years, Mu Qingya had fed the poor to help the world and saved many people. It was said that she had saved Fengyun Kingdom from a pandemic. If not for her, there would be no Fengyun Kingdom. Mu Qingjia's face sank. She looked at Ali lying on the ground sorrowfully and ordered the guards to help her up. She then turned to Tian Xian coldly. I don't care. You must apologize to my servant now. Dongfang Yu laughed. If you really care about this servant, instead of making her stay here to accept an apology, you would have brought her in for treatment. Now I understand. The people of Fengyun Kingdom are blind. She heard those people's words clearly just now. Kindness. Ridiculous. Like sisters. It makes people want to laugh. She said she was like her real sister but did not care about her injuries and just make her stay here. A normal person would have brought her away long ago. Mu Qingjia's face stiffened. She clenched her hands tightly before slowly exhaling. This is for my servant's dignity. If you do not apologize to her, she will never accept treatment. It is not that I do not want to take her away. She lifted her chin proudly and with determination. Her servant had long fainted, unable to utter even a single word, and even needed 2 guards to hold her up. It was as if they were afraid that she had not left enough blood to survive. How should the servant accept their apology if she was already unconscious? The crowd heard Mu Qingjia's explanation and looked at Tian Xian and Dongfang Yu furiously. Up until this moment, these 2 women still dared to frame Noble Lady. Noble Lady said that she treated her servant as a sister. If there is no apology, her servant would rather die. They have hurt people to such an extent and refuse to apologize, yet, they still want to frame Noble Lady. They are simply ignorant. Noble Lady, in our opinion, it is better to arrest them and beat them until they apologize. Mu Qingjia's expression did not falter despite hearing what the crowd said. Her gaze was cold, expressionless. I don't like to punish anyone even if they have made many mistakes. Now, as long as they apologize to my servant, I will forgive them. What I want is just an apology. Seeing that Dongfang Yu was about to get up in anger, Tian Xian pressed down upon her shoulder and slowly stood up and walked toward Mu Qingya. You want us to apologize? Then, I would like to ask you just what we have done wrong. Earlier, your guards hurt us first, but we put up with that. Then, your servant was rude, but we put up with that, too. However, there is a limit to other people's patience. When I can't put up with things anymore, should I just sit still and do nothing about it? A cold aura filled up the hall. The fierceness in Tian Xian's eyes somehow made Mu Qingya stiffen, and her breathing grew a little heavy. The guards had already surrounded Tian Xian and Dongfang Yu, and the swords in their hands reflected a cold light. Tian Xian smirked as she faced the guards. She obviously was not afraid of them. Suddenly, the tavern fell silent. The crowd turned to look at a figure dressed in a stunning bright red dress. Her face was stunning and beautiful, and her eyes were so domineering. She had such a beautiful face that they had never seen before. They used to think that Mu Qingya was the most beautiful girl in Fengyun Kingdom, but her beauty was just ordinary now compared to this girl. This girl's stunning appearance was something unforgettable. Following behind her was a handsome young man with silver hair, as handsome as an immortal. His eyes were so cold, and there was a silver vertical line between his eyebrows. Even Mu Qingya was stunned for a moment. She had thought that the emperor was handsome enough but had not thought that there was a young man who could be this stunning. Even his smile amazed her, making her heart skip a beat with an urge to abduct him. Ninth, the moment Tian Xian saw the 9th emperor, her eyes were filled with joy, but when she saw that the 9th emperor did not put on her mask today, she held back the words in her mouth. 9th emperor, why are you here? The 9th emperor stepped through the doorway. As she walked into the tavern, the entire hall was shocked with a heavy aura. It was as if a giant mountain fell in front of them, making it a little difficult for everyone to breathe. Me for extra chapters. I'm here to find you guys. Were you bullying people outside? The 9th emperor asked, raising eyebrows. Tian Xian lowered her head in shame. We didn't want to disgrace you, so we didn't want to bother with these people. But they were getting too much, so we planned to take action, but then, you were here. Oh, the 9th emperor turned to Mu Qingya and smiled coldly. You were the one who bullied my people just now. Mu Qingjia's face changed dramatically, and she took a few steps back. For some reason, her heart trembled a bit when facing this woman. My servant did not intend to offend them earlier, she gritted her teeth and said, but they attacked my servant, and now I just want an apology from her. Apology? The 9th emperor snorted and laughed coldly. My people never make mistakes. Mu Qingya froze and looked at the 9th emperor in dismay. The 9th emperor smiled faintly and said, for that reason, they surely don't need to apologize. Tian Xian and Dong Fangyu were her people, so of course, she trusted them. If these people had not provoked them first, they would never have made a move. They pushed them and made Tian Xian angry to such an extent. Mu Qingya bit her lip and smiled coldly. Maiden, you have made a mistake, and you don't want to admit it. The ninth emperor walked toward Mu Qingya. She looked up coldly at the young girl in front of her. It seems that you have some problems with your ears. I have already said that my people never make mistakes. Boom! She raised her hand, the blast of wind came, and instantly, Mu Qingya's body flew away before falling under the steps, rolling to the ground. Those guards got up and saw Mu Qingya rolling away, and their faces turned pale with fear. They would be doomed if the princess knew that they had failed to protect noble lady. However, before this group of guards could rush toward the ninth emperor, they saw that the young man next to her had already moved his hand. No one even saw clearly how he did it, but in a flash, this group of guards were swept away by the wind, falling wretchedly to the ground. Some did not even have the strength to get up. Perhaps the strength of these two people shocked them. They immediately stood up and no longer cared to stay. They helped Mu Qingya, carried her, and hurriedly left. The ninth emperor took a brief glance at them, then withdrew her gaze and turned to the seating area. Nan Changfeng followed behind her. His face was clear and cold as if he looked like this for everyone else except for the ninth emperor. I'm hungry. Have them serve the meal. All right, Tian Xian and Dong Fangyu also followed and sat with them. Within a few moments, the waiter brought the dishes to the table. Perhaps because of Nan Changfeng's cooking skill, the ninth emperor was not surprised by these meals' deliciousness. The whole tavern was also quiet. The people looked at the ninth emperor with some fear. Who doesn't know that Mu Qingya is the most respectful noble lady? The emperor likes her very much, but now this woman has hurt Mu Qingya, and she will be driven out of this kingdom. As expected, me for extra chapters. Not long after, another group of guards rushed in, surrounding the entire tavern. Everyone did not even dare to breathe, afraid of getting into trouble. A middle-aged man entered from behind the crowd. He was well-dressed, elegant, handsome, and filled with a domineering aura. Father, I'm fine. Mu Qingya followed behind the middle-aged man with a helpless look. We were just squabbling. If people know, they will think that I can't beat them, and went back to complain. The middle-aged man did not speak. He glanced at the crowd before his eyes fell upon the ninth emperor and the others. Everyone stopped moving after he came, but the ninth emperor and the others did not even look at him. Mu frowned. He gently patted Mu Qingya's hand and turned to the group of people in front of him. The woman turned around, and her stunning eyes met the middle-aged man. You are Little Nine. The ninth emperor tilted her head to look at Mu and frowned. Nan Changfeng looked at the ninth emperor. Do you know him? The ninth emperor was silent for a while. I don't remember very well, maybe. I know him. However, her expression remained calm, and there were no other emotions in her dark eyes. Tian Xian finally remembered where she heard this name from. She remembered that someone came to the ninth emperor and was looking for Little Nine. But later, no one had come again, and over time, she forgot about this name. Little Nine, where have you been for the past 20 years? Mu Yi was pleased. I have searched for you for a long time but have not found you. How have you been these years? Oh, the ninth emperor shrugged unconcernedly. I've had a pretty good time all these years. Free, easy, surrounded by many beautiful women. Mu Yi was dumbfounded. He did not expect that Little Nine could be so calm after not seeing him for so many years. All these years, he never gave up looking for her. Mu Qingya stood next to Mu Yi, clenching her fists tightly. A few moments later, she let go of her hand and walked toward the ninth emperor smilingly. So you are father's daughter. Father has indeed been looking for you for so many years. It's just a pity that mother stopped all those people from searching for her. Now that father has married mother, he has to forget anything from the past. Just now. Mu Qingya pursed her lips, her voice tinged with guilt. It was indeed my fault. No matter what your people did, I shouldn't have stood up for my servant. It's just that at that time, I never thought you were little Nine. I am sorry. I don't know if you can forgive me. Her eyes were so clear, and her tone was so sincere that it could touch others' hearts. Me for extra chapters. Mu Yi smiled. This is your family. Don't fight. Little Nine, this is your sister. Forgive her. It's not good to fight with your own family. He subconsciously went to touch the ninth emperor's hand. The ninth emperor quickly withdrew her hands and held Nan Changfeng's hand. Nan Changfeng stared at that hand, and his gaze softened a lot with a smile in his eyes. The middle-aged man froze, wanting to say something, but in the end, he remained silent. Sorry, the ninth emperor smiled faintly. I don't like strangers touching me. If it were good-looking ones, I might be fine, but the older ones, Mu Yi looked a little embarrassed. Perhaps it was because they had not seen each other for many years that they became a little awkward. He could not blame his daughter for this. Little Nine, it has been a long time since you went home. Why don't you come back with me today? Yes, sister, Mu Qingya smiled. Father has moved out of Mu Manor, but there are still many guest rooms. As long as sister is willing to come back, we still welcome you, and, she pursed her lips. Just look at your girl, who is like a wolf swallowing food. They must not have eaten such delicious food for a long time. I really can't imagine what miserable days sister is living outside. In our house, we have everything. The glory and wealth. More than you can imagine. Even though Mu Qingya's words and eyes were sincere, the contempt and mockery in that tone of voice were still clear to Tian Xian. Her eyes reddened with anger. Shut up. Others could humiliate her, but she could not accept anyone insulting the ninth emperor. Dongfang Yu clenched her fists tightly. She cracked her knuckles, and her eyes were filled with anger. Father, Mu Qingya pursed her lips. Maybe you should not take another wife. You should not remarry in this life. Otherwise, sister won't go back. Mu Yi froze for a moment. He shook his head and smiled bitterly. His mother did not like little Nine and her mother. She had been forcing him to marry another woman, but at that time, he still chose them. However, when little Nine's mother was no longer there, and little Nine left, his mother forced him again, and he no longer had a reason to refuse. Therefore, he finally married the princess as his mother had wished. Never remarry in your life. Someone inside the tavern laughed sarcastically. Which man in this world doesn't have 3, 4 concubines? And why does he need to stay unmarried just because his wife died? It's ridiculous. I don't know how this woman could think such things. Ridiculous indeed. Such a woman is not worthy of entering the Mu family at all. Moreover, she cannot be compared with noble Lady Qingya. She wants to keep her father unmarried for the rest of his life, and she has even been missing for many years. Since she is missing, why does she still have to, boom? This man was not done talking, but his table suddenly exploded, and the dishes splashed, falling all over him. The other one flew away and crashed into the wall before spitting blood. When they looked up, they met the young man's cold eyes, so cold that it made them tremble in fear. Nan Changfeng withdrew his gaze and turned to the ninth emperor again. His eyes were filled with warmth as a smile grew upon his face. Ninth Emperor, let's go. The Ninth Emperor looked indifferent. She did not even look at the man and did not care about him. Little 9, me for extra chapters. The man's heart trembled, and he hurriedly spoke out, stopping her in her tracks. She paused for a moment and smiled, but no turning back. My name is not Little 9. She only had one title, the Ninth Emperor. This name, she paused for a moment, is too weak and not worthy of me. As soon as she said that, the Ninth Emperor walked out of the tavern. Her footsteps were gentle, but every step fell heavily upon Mu Yi's heart. Tian Xian and Dong Fangyu followed her, and when they left, they looked at Mu Qingya and sneered. My master can't even be compared to millions of you, so don't make a fool of yourself. Otherwise, the miserable one will be you only. The Ninth Emperor had always been proud of herself, and she would not make a move against such a mole. However, when she was really angry, no one could stop her. Mu Qingya's face was pale for a while. She then clenched her fists tightly and took a deep breath before suppressing her anger. She turned to Mu Yi and smiled bitterly. Father, it seems that sister does not like me. I did not know she was my sister before. Otherwise, no matter how rude her people were, I would not have allowed my servant to talk to them. Mu Yi frowned and looked a little sad. She has been away from home for too long and has not returned for a long time. She left when she was so young that she might be a little cold with the Mu family. You're a good girl, and I believe that she will accept you one day. Mu Qingya's gaze sank. Father still wants her to accept me until now. Ridiculous. However, Mu Qingya did not say it out loud. She hesitated for a moment before saying, actually, I know why my sister doesn't like me. Why? Mu Yi turned to Mu Qingya, confused. Mu Qingya smiled bitterly. Because that young man standing next to sister looked at me several times, and by looking at the way sister looked at him, she seemed to be very fond of him. So maybe she misunderstood me. Mu Qingya sighed and smiled bitterly. I already have a future husband, and I don't have any feelings for that young man. I can't accept him because I know my sister likes him. How could I snatch him from her? But looking at my sister's expression, she really hates me for this. Mu Yi frowned. He was also curious why Little 9 was so cold to Qingya. It turned out that it was because of a man. He frowned harder, and a hint of coldness flashed across his face. Qingya, don't worry. I won't let anyone destroy your sisterhood. That's just a man. Can't it be less important than family? Mu Qingya smiled bitterly and said, Father, you understand me, but sister may not understand me. I am most afraid that the young man will come to me, and sister will hate me more. How about we invite sister home? I want to explain to her clearly. All right, Mu Yi nodded slightly. Little 9 has come back to Fengyun Kingdom, so we still have a chance. As for that young man, he is stunning, but Little 9 misunderstands you because of him. In that case, he can't stay by her side. We also have to find a way to get rid of those few impolite servants. Little 9 might not be willing to listen to him earlier, so he had to take some time to persuade her. A smile appeared on Mu Qingya's face. Sister is really beautiful. I like her a lot, so I also hope that she will like me as well. She will. Mu Yi rubbed Mu Qingya's back gently, calming her. Even though he was forced to marry the princess back then, Mu Qingya was still his daughter, and he really loved her. He knew that she was sad because Little 9 had misunderstood her. Why should there be a feud between sisters? He believed that one day Little 9 would accept Qingya because she was really a nice girl. Mu Qingya smiled shyly, but no one noticed a trace of coldness in her eyes when she lowered her gaze. A coldness that made people shudder. After leaving the tavern, the ninth emperor looked around and smiled faintly. Dongfang Yu blinked and was curious. Ninth emperor, that man just now. Is he really your father? Ahem. Tian Xian cleared her throat, trying to stop Dongfang Ye's words. The ninth emperor smiled faintly. Sort of, right? It has been a long time since I came back to Fengyan Kingdom. Let's go. I'll take you guys to my former residence. Former residence. The place where my mother lived. The ninth emperor shrugged, and her expression remained calm. Back then, the Mu family did not accept my mother, so they kicked her out. That man also followed my mother and was kicked out of the family. After my mother died, he took me back to the Mu family. But, she paused, I suspect my mother did not die. She just disappeared. I left back then just to find her. Now that I'm back. Well, go there now, and maybe we can find something there. Oh, me for extra chapters. This was the first time Dongfang Yu heard about the ninth emperor's mother. She could not help but be a little curious. But she did not pursue the matter further. After all, that should be the ninth emperor's most painful memory. The courtyard had not been taken care of for a long time, so when they just walked in, they felt the desolation. The weeds were overgrown, and it was dirty, and obviously, no one had come to clean them. Back then, her mother liked to play with her in the pavilion, but now that pavilion was no longer what it once was. Ninth Emperor, Tian Xian was not too happy. That man from the Mu family. He looks like he's too fond of his new wife and daughter. If he really loved your mother, he would have hired someone to clean the courtyard. As expected, all men are bad. The ninth emperor did not think so. She walked in, glancing at the entire courtyard. She vaguely remembered the time when she lived here. But these memories began to blur, and perhaps it would not be long before they were forgotten. However, she had never given up trying to find her. Qing Zhu, Nan Changfeng looked at the courtyard and called out faintly. A snake crawled out of his sleeve and transformed into a handsome young man, standing next to Nan Changfeng. Nan Changfeng said calmly, "Clean this courtyard." Qing Zhu froze. Becoming a snake is so difficult. The ninth emperor stroked her chin as she smiled and stared at Qing Zhu. Abduct one young man and get another one. Cloud Mountain will have more people to do the chores. I plan to stay here for a while and see if I can find some traces of my mother. After all, this is the only place we lived back then, and she disappeared here. It's just that everyone in the Mu family says she's dead, and that guy really thinks she's dead too. Ninth Emperor, Dongfang Yu spoke with some hesitation. If we stay here, that man will find you again. What are we going to do then? Oh, just kick him out. The ninth emperor shrugged and replied unconcernedly. After hearing this, Dongfang Yu quietly sighed with relief, and she knew what to do next. The emperor's son-in-law's manor, a beautiful woman sat within the main hall. She saw Mu Yi and Mu Qingya walking in from outside. She stood up and walked toward the two with a smile. This beautiful woman did not look very old. Perhaps only around 30 and above, but less than 40. She was graceful and elegant. Her face did not have any wrinkles, and her skin was flawless. Qingya, you're back. She smiled warmly. Mu Qingya nodded. She seemed like she wanted to say something, but she did not say anything in the end. Mu Yi looked at Princess Qingluo, pondered for a moment, and said, "I'm a bit tired, so I'll go rest first." He did not say anything about little Nine. If the Mu family's old lady knew about it, he was afraid that she would start making a fuss again. Mu Yi had a bit of a headache as he thought about the old lad's bad temper. He rubbed his temples and walked to the backyard. Qingluo watched Mu Yi leave, and the smile upon her face gradually disappeared. For many years, Mu-yi had always treated her with respect, so she had already gotten used to him treating her like this. But, she was still a bit unhappy. Why was that woman able to get his gentle treatment when she was with him, but not her? Qingya, did you have something to say to me just now? Princess Qingluo turned to look at Mu Qingya, her face sank. Mu Qingya pursed her lips. Just now, when I was outside, I met a girl. That girl was a bit rude and hurt me. What? Qingluo's face changed dramatically. Her expression turned cold. Who is that girl? How dare she hurt my daughter? Mother, Mu Qingya smiled bitterly. Father came to avenge me, but, she paused and lowered her gaze helplessly. Me for extra chapters. But that woman was Little Nine. Little Nine, this name was so familiar to Qingluo. Familiar to the point that her gaze sank and was filled with a wave of monstrous anger. Her whole face turned cold. You mean, he doesn't care about you being bullied because of Little Nine? Her daughter was her everything. Who dared to shout rudely in front of her daughter? It was even more outrageous that Mu-yi did not help Qingya. He must still be thinking about that woman. Princess Qingluo hid the coldness in her eyes and said furiously, Qingya, you must tell your grandmother about this. The only one person who can subdue your father is her. She was a high-ranking princess, but she loved Mu-yi and was unwilling to punish him. At this time, she could only make the old lady of the Mu family settle this. Mu-yi would always listen to his mother. I'm going to meet Little Nine. Princess Qingluo lifted her chin and sneered. Mu Qingya was a little surprised. Mother, why do you want to see her? She must have a purpose coming here this time. She may want to follow Mu-yi to this manor to take all the glory and wealth. How can I allow her to do so? Your father has always been soft-hearted. He might agree to give it all to her after seeing her crying a few times. But I will never allow the daughter of another woman to enter this place. Every single thing in this manor was built with her father's money. How could she allow a wild child to enjoy this glory? However, Mu-yi was soft-hearted. Therefore, she had to settle this matter on her own. She could not let that woman have the opportunity to see Mu-yi again. All right, Mu Qingya gritted her teeth. Mother, that girl probably hasn't enjoyed any luxury all these years. Her people were gobbling down food as if they've been hungry for a long time. I guess she came back just to enjoy our glory and wealth. And Mu Qingya's eyes flashed a light. The young man that followed her seemed to have a feeling for me. That girl attacked me because of him. I've told father, but he did nothing. She smiled helplessly as if she was suffering from endless aggression. Hearing that Mu-yi did not protect Mu Qingya, Princess Qingluo's face grew colder. She then clenched her fists tightly. This matter is not your fault. It is obvious that the man is lustful. He dares to have dirty thoughts about you. They're so rude, but Mu-yi still let her go. Princess Qingluo smiled coldly. Qingya, don't worry. Mother will never let you suffer. If your father doesn't protect you, but you still have me to protect you. My daughter is so noble. How can I allow that kind of bastard to bully you? Besides, the man who is with her is bound to be a loser. You already have an excellent future husband. Why would you fall for that kind of person? Mu Qingya suddenly remembered the man's handsome face, and her heart felt a little sad. That young man was indeed stunning. He was the most handsome person she had seen so far. It was a pity that such a young man was with Little Nine. As her mother said, the person who was with Little Nine would only be a loser. Me for extra chapters. If only, it would be great if she could marry 2 husbands. Mu Qingya lowered her gaze, deep in thought. This matter was not impossible on this mainland. Women who could become the ruler could also have several husbands. As long as her strength exceeded the emperor's jurisdiction, it was not impossible to marry 2 husbands. Mukinjia's eyes flashed with determination, but her words carried endless aggravation. Mother, father wants little Nine to come home. I am also willing to accept her for my father's sake, but she has such a deep misunderstanding of me for a young man. If she comes back, I am afraid that she will hate me more only because of that young man. Qingluo said sarcastically, if she wants to enter this place, she has to ask me whether I agree or not. Without my permission, how would she enter? Even if your father wanted her to come back, he absolutely could not do so. Even the most generous woman in the world would not raise her husband's other children for him. But, father, it's all right. You don't have to back up your father. There's no way I would agree. Besides, if she brings a lustful man with her, maybe he has a prying eye on you after he enters the manor. In that case, won't she drag down your reputation? Men in this world would do anything for power. It's hard to find a man like your father, who does not care about power. Otherwise, I would not have married him. Mu Qingya did not speak anymore. She slightly lowered her eyes, and no one could see the emotions in them. Mu Manor's backyard, an angry voice suddenly came, causing Mu Yi to frown. He turned to look and saw an old lady walking toward him with a crutch, and her pale face was full of anger. Mu Yi, I heard that little Nine, that wild bastard, has returned. Mu Yi's frown grew tighter, and he looked a little dissatisfied. Mother, that bastard is also my daughter. What daughter? Can my Mu family ever acknowledge her existence? I tell you, my granddaughter is only Qingya. That bastard is not worthy to enter my Mu family. If you dare to hurt Qingluo's and Qinjia's hearts for that bastard, I will never let you go. The cane in her hand almost hit Mu Yi's head. Mu Yi did not dodge, and he looked sad as he lowered his voice. He was always helpless facing the old lady. Mother, no matter what, the blood running in little Nine is still the blood of our Mu family. You, great. For a wild girl, you dare to get angry with me. The old lattice cane ruthlessly knocked on the ground. Her old face was full of anger, with her ruthless eyebrows. I tell you, you must kick little Nine out of the family. We shall not see her again. Otherwise, I don't want to see you anymore, and I will never allow you to do such a heartless thing for a wild girl. Mu Yi was dumbfounded. He really did not understand why it was so hard for her to allow him to meet his daughter. Besides, little Nine had never done anything wrong. His mother hated little Nine's poor mother, and if her mother had not treated her that way, she would not have left home for years and not returned. Now he wanted to take his daughter back, and what was wrong with that? Mother. I really don't understand why you dislike little Nine so much. She is still my daughter. Mu Yi closed his eyes, and his tone was filled with grief. Me for extra chapters. Because she doesn't deserve to be your daughter. Old Lady Mu sneered. A wild child born by a bitch, how can she be compared with the high and mighty princess? Qingya is the daughter of the princess. She is much nobler than her. What qualifications does she have to enter the door of this house? This is Mu Manor, not a place where any wild girl can run wildly. Moreover, I also heard that you made Qingya sad for this wild girl. If the guards did not tell me, I would not even have known that you could hurt Qingya for that bastard. I even heard that the man with that wild girl is bad, and he is actually spying on our Qingya. Did you not see him? Is he worthy of marrying our Qingya? What kind of status did a person who was with little Nine have? Such a person who still wanted to marry Qingya was simply a lazy toad wishing to eat swan's meat. Whimsical, simply ridiculous. Mother. Seeing old Lady Mu insulting his daughter, Mu Yi's face could not help but sink. that is my daughter. It's true. You won't even listen to me anymore, for the wild girl's sake. Old Lady Moo trembled with anger. She could hardly stand, and her hand holding the cane was shivering. Suddenly, her eyes rolled upward, and she fainted in front of him. Moo-ee to frown. He turned to look and saw an old lady walking toward him with a crutch, and her pale face was full of anger. Moo-ee, I heard that little Nine, that wild bastard, has returned. Moo-ee's frown grew tighter, and he looked a little dissatisfied. Mother, that bastard is also my daughter. What daughter? Can my Moo family ever acknowledge her existence? I tell you, my granddaughter is only Chinya. That bastard is not worthy to enter my Moo family. If you dare to hurt King Luo's and Kinjia's hearts for that bastard, I will never let you go. The cane in her hand almost hit Moo-ee's head. Moo-ee did not dodge, and he looked sad as he lowered his voice. He was always helpless facing the old lady. Mother, no matter what, the blood running in little Nine is still the blood of our Moo family. Great. For a wild girl, you dare to get angry with me. The old lattice cane ruthlessly knocked on the ground. Her old face was full of anger, with her ruthless eyebrows. I tell you, you must kick little Nine out of the family. We shall not see her again. Otherwise, I don't want to see you anymore, and I will never allow you to do such a heartless thing for a wild girl. Moo-ee was dumbfounded. He really did not understand why it was so hard for her to allow him to meet his daughter. Besides, little Nine had never done anything wrong. His mother hated little Nine's poor mother, and if her mother had not treated her that way, she would not have left home for years and not returned. Now he wanted to take his daughter back, and what was wrong with that? Mother. I really don't understand why you dislike little Nine so much. She is still my daughter. Moo-ee closed his eyes, and his tone was filled with grief. Me for extra chapters. Because she doesn't deserve to be your daughter. Old Lady Moo sneered. A wild child born by a bitch, how can she be compared with the high and mighty princess? Chinya is the daughter of the princess. She is much nobler than her. What qualifications does she have to enter the door of this house? This is Moo Manor, not a place where any wild girl can run wildly. Moreover, I also heard that you made Chinya sad for this wild girl. If the guards did not tell me, I would not even have known that you could hurt Chinya for that bastard. I even heard that the man with that wild girl is bad, and he is actually spying on our Chinya. Did you not see him? Is he worthy of marrying our Chinya? What kind of status did a person who was with little Nine have? Moo-ee was dumbfounded. He panicked, rushed up, took out a spirit herb, and fed it to the old lady with his other hand supporting the old lattice body. The old lady then gradually moved. She woke up and cried out, looking sad. This is the good son I gave birth to when I almost died. A vixen had bewitched your father, and I raised you alone. For you, I suffered a lot. When we were the poorest, I could not afford to eat and dress, but I gave it all to you. But you, in the end, dared to treat me like this for a wild girl. I do not want to live anymore. That wild girl has such a foul temper and dares to make a move on Chinya. Kill me first if you want to choose that wild girl. I have never been angry in all these years, and now am already old, and you want to bully me. It would be better for me to die here first than to be humiliated like this. Each of her words carried a sense of grief and anger, and her expression was filled with sorrow as if she had suffered a great grievance. Seeing the old lattice's miserable appearance, Moo-ee's heart ached. Back then, his father was also forced to marry his mother, and later, he abandoned her for the sake of his childhood friend, whom he married later. His mother was not willing to be relegated from wife to concubine. She had to take him away from his father, and even his surname was also changed to follow his mother's. Over the years, his mother did suffer a lot. If it were not for him, she would not have had to suffer to such extent. His mother did not like little Nine's mother because she was too beautiful. Just like the woman that his father insisted on marrying back then, her beauty was amazing. His mother did not like good-looking girls. She would always think that these women were vixens, so she hated little Nine's mother. Until later, little Nine's mother was no longer here, and little Nine also left. His mother had threatened him with suicide to force him to marry the princess. Many years had passed. And little Nine finally returned. Mu-Yi closed his eyes in deep pain, and his hands were trembling. One was his daughter with the woman he loved most, while the other was his mother who had suffered for him. Mother, I understand. Mu-Yi opened his eyes, and his voice was choked with sobs. I won't let little Nine come back. Only after hearing these words did old Lady Mu stop crying. Her old face was cold. You are not allowed to see her either. But, mother, me for extra chapters. If you dare to go see her once, I will run headlong into you and die in front of you rather than to suffer your anger. The old lattice voice made Mu-Yi's heart tremble even harder. Back then, his mother had forced him to marry the princess in the same way. However, Mu-Yi, just like his damn father, was confused by a bitch and did something like abandoning his wife and son. Now she just wanted to pull her son back on the right track and not let him do something he would regret for the rest of his life. Princess Qingluo, just be patient. Mu-Yi will understand that whatever we do is for his good. Maybe today he still doesn't understand anything, but he will later, she sneered. That wild girl will only cause trouble to him. Princess Qingluo, old Lady Mu patted Qingluo's hand. Don't worry. He has promised me that he will not take in that wild girl. You can rest assured now. You do not have to worry too much about him. I'm here, and I will never allow him to have any contact with that wild girl. Qingluo was relieved, she smiled. Mother, I am also thinking of Qingya. Qingya said that the young man by her side has ill intentions toward Qingya. If we allowed her to enter our manor, with Qingya's qualification, who will not fall for her? It's not impossible for him to do something to hurt Qingya. He dares. Old Lady Mu's face sank. Even if Qingya is excellent, she is not something he can touch. I will never allow it. Qingluo, there is no need to be polite when dealing with such people. You send someone later to expel them from here, and they will not be allowed anymore to set foot here forever. But, Qingluo had some hesitations. She was silent for a second. Mu-Yi. I am afraid that he would blame me. Mother, you know Mu-Yi's feelings for that girl's mother. In his heart, this wild girl is more important than Qingya. I am afraid that he will be angry with me. Princess Qingluo, you are the princess. Old Lady Mu said, Mu-Yi should also respect you, but this brat is so uncouth. You love him, but he is so rude. Don't worry. I will not allow him to disrespect you. She was the princess, the golden branch, and it was a blessing that the princess took a fancy to Mu-Yi back then. Naively this kid did not even care about the prince's feelings, and now after he had become the emperor's son-in-law, he was still the same. If it were any other princess, who would still indulge in him like Qingluo? Foolish son. Old Lady Mu thought for a moment and said, feel free to send someone to drive her away. If she refuses to go, directly beat and shoo her away, no need to be polite. If Mu-Yi asks, just say, it was my order. I am his mother, and he will not say anything. Alright, Qingluo sighed. I am mainly worried about the young man because Qingya is too kind, and she will not say anything even when someone bullies her. I, as a mother, must protect her, even if it will make Mu-yi misunderstand me for extra chapters. Seeing King Luo's worried appearance, old lady Mu was a little heartbroken. What a good woman, she also gave birth to a well-behaved daughter for him. So many men in this kingdom wanted to marry her, but King Luo fell for him instead. She never understood why Mu-yi did not like King Luo. Moreover, the marriage was set by the parents' order and the matchmaker's words, and the child could only obey. Why is it so hard for them to understand? While hesitating, King Luo spoke again. Little Nine, it was old lady Mu who asked me to drive you away. Don't wait for me to do it myself. Otherwise, when the time comes, you will only be embarrassed. Dongfang Yu and Tian Xian's faces darkened. Even if the ninth emperor had not spoken yet, they could not continue to hold their tongues. King Luo was silent. She lowered her gaze, hiding the coldness in them. A cold smile danced upon her lips. The old lady was so angry, so she did not see the coldness in her eyes. A few moments later, King Luo raised her gaze, turned to old lady Mu, and said, "Mother, I will send someone over. For Kinjia's sake, I can't let her stay either." On the other courtyard, the ninth emperor was resting lazily on the pavilion when a loud noise suddenly came from outside. This sound made the ninth emperor frown and sat up straight. She frowned, and she ordered indifferently, "Dongfang Yu, go and see who is making such a ruckus out there." Yes, Dongfang Yu just wanted to go out, but a group of people suddenly rushed in, instantly surrounding the courtyard. The ninth emperor frowned. Her gaze fell upon the beautiful woman in a long green dress. The woman slowly walked in from behind the crowd, smiling, but that smile made people feel uncomfortable. The ninth emperor glanced at her and immediately recognized the person who came. She was Mu-yi's wife, Princess King Luo of Fengyun Kingdom. She was also old lady Mu's favorite daughter-in-law. This girl has grown beautifully over the years, just like that woman back then. King Luo's breathing was a little difficult as she thought of that woman. She could still feel the pain in her heart. She would not forget that Mu-yi would not have been cold to her for so many years if it were not for that woman. He still could not forget that woman until now. Which wife could be tolerant when her husband had another woman in his heart? Moreover, she was a princess who had such a high status in this kingdom. How could she accept it? Me for extra chapters. Are you little Nine? Princess King Luo scanned the ninth emperor up and down with a smile. You were very young when you left. It's been 20 years, and I almost couldn't recognize you. The ninth emperor rested at the pavilion lazily, ignoring King Luo. Dongfang Yu and Tian Xian stood next to the ninth emperor, guarding her like a mountain god. What do you want? She raised her eyebrows and asked. King Luo smiled, and the light in her eyes was somewhat morbidly cold. Little Nine, you should not come back to this place. Oh, the ninth emperor responded nonchalantly. Her face was expressionless. And? I want to advise you to leave this place immediately. There are some things that you shouldn't peep at. This manor exists because of me. You can't enter the emperor's son-in-law's manor without my permission. If I disagree, old lady Mu won't even agree as well. The ninth emperor was stunned. She looked up at King Luo and frowned. Who said that I wanted to live in that emperor's son-in-law's manor? Haven't I made it clear? It's a pity, King Luo sneered, you can only have such a man by your side. The ninth emperor frowned. A cold light flashed in her eyes as she slowly stood up and walked toward Princess King Luo. Anxiousness filled everyone's heart, even the surrounding air gradually turned cold, making people shiver in fear. In this world, who dared to speak like that in front of the ninth emperor? Many powerful people in the world were scared of the ninth emperor, and they did not dare to say a word. Only those who did not know the ninth emperor were not afraid of her. "Shut up!" Dongfang Yuk shouted coldly. "This is not a place for you to spill your guts." Qing Luo sneered. "People said little nine servants have no manners. Now they are daring to shout at me, the kingdom's princess. Are they not afraid of death?" However, Princess Qing Luo did not say that out loud. She smiled. "Little nine, I hope you know your place. Mu Yi is Qingjia's father, not yours. Qingya is talented and well-behaved, and Mu Yi loves her so much." She paused and continued, "So, what makes you think that Mu Yi will bring you back to his manor? What makes you think that he will break Qingjia's heart for you?" The ninth emperor stroked her chins and looked at Princess Qing Luo with a smirk. Dongfang Yu and Tian Xian never took action without the ninth emperor's order. This had become their habit. Even though now the rage in their hearts almost surged out and their tightly clenched fists were trembling in anger, they still did not make any move. Until a voice came from the pavilion with powerful wind, forcing Qing Luo to take a few steps back. "Ninth Emperor, who are these people?" Princess Qing Luo stabilized her body and turned to the side. Her gaze fell upon a handsome young man. His long silver hair was dazzling under the sunlight. A silver vertical line between his eyebrows was demonic and seductive. Even the older Princess Qing Luo froze for a moment seeing such a handsome young man. The young man hit her just now, but she had forgotten it. After a long time, Mu Qingjia's words surfaced in her mind, bringing her back to her senses. Her face suddenly turned cold. "Me for extra chapters." She had not forgotten that this young man had ill intentions toward Qingya. Even if he were so good-looking, it would not change his fault of being greedy for power. It's such a pity. A handsome young man but with an impure heart. My daughter must marry someone with a high position and power. Such a greedy young man is not worthy of being her husband. Perhaps, thinking of the grievances suffered by Mu Qingya, Princess Qing Luo's face sank slightly. "Little nine, this guy is your man." The ninth emperor froze and looked at Nan Chongfeng blankly. Nan Chongfeng smiled and did not say anything. But on the side, Dongfang Yu and Tian Xian all turned to him, glaring at him with eyes filled with alarm. Is Nan Chongfeng plotting against the ninth emperor? Otherwise, how could others see it at a glance? And we almost believed him before. With little nine's temper, she would indeed refuse to go back to the manor. However, Mu Yi did not expect Princess Qing Luo to invite little nine back home personally. She had always been treated as a woman of high rank, but she had also endured so much aggrievement for him. Even though he had never been warm to her all these years, she still thought of him in every way as always. Princess Qing Luo was not afraid of the ninth emperor. She was smiling coldly, and her gaze was intense as she looked coldly at the woman walking toward her. When she saw this stunning face, the hatred in her heart grew deeper, and her face darkened. The ninth emperor stopped before Princess Qing Luo with a faint smile. However, that smile was chilling. Qing Luo's expression changed dramatically. She was about to speak but saw that the ninth emperor had raised her hands. A sword appeared in her hand out of nowhere, and it reflected a cold light in the sunlight, making people tremble. Qing Luo was stunned. This little girl dares to make a move on me. Looking at the ninth emperor in front of her, she sneered. Little nine, think it over. I am not only your stepmother but also the princess of this Fengyun kingdom. If you want to make a move against me, I am afraid that you... Before she could finish her words, the ninth emperor already swung her sword, and a gust of wind suddenly blew, sending Qing Luo flying backward. Those guards who followed Qing Luo also fell to the ground miserably. She raised her hand again, closing the gate, and sat back in the pavilion. Dongfang Yu, guard the gate. She is not allowed to enter this place again. As for the others, I don't want to see them either. She was there to find the news of her mother's disappearance back then but did not intend to deal with these people as it would only waste her energy. Nan Changfeng looked coldly at where Princess Qingluo had fallen and turned back to the Ninth Emperor. His heart softened after he saw the smile upon the woman's stunning face. Yes, Ninth Emperor, Dongfang Yu replied respectfully. The Ninth Emperor was a little tired. She stretched and stood up, frowning. Her gaze fixed upon the place where Princess Qingluo was standing just now. Clean this place and disinfect it properly. Yes, outside the courtyard, me for extra chapters. Princess Qingluo was thrown out without any warning. She was somewhat embarrassed, and her gaze was cold. However, at this moment, a familiar voice came from behind her, causing Princess Qingluo to stiffen. Qingluo, what are you doing here? This voice was so familiar. She pursed her lips and slowly turned her head, her gaze resting upon the middle-aged man standing behind her. The middle-aged man frowned, slightly puzzled. She bit her lip and lowered her gaze. Qingya said that little Nine had returned, but she was unwilling to go to our manor, so I planned to come and invite her. Who knew that little Nine? Princess Qingluo's voice grew a little bitter. It seems like little Nine hates us, so she is not willing to go back. Mui frowned. Seeing her in such a state, old lady Mu frowned. Princess, where did you go just now? Qingluo smiled warmly. Mother, you don't have to worry. I just fell, nothing serious. Fell? How did you fall? Princess, don't worry. Tell me who did it to you, and I will punish that person for you. When she said this, she also glanced at Mu Yi. The coldness in her eyes made Mu Yi's heart tremble. Therefore, all these years, had he been too cruel to her? Mu Yi sighed. Little Nine's temper has always been like this. She even ignored me, her father. So I also want to see her, and I hope she can forgive me. Princess Qingluo lowered her gaze, hiding the coldness in them. Sure enough, as long as little Nine was around, Mu Yi would come to see her secretly, ignoring the old lattice warning. Unless she left, or she committed a crime, and the people kicked her out. Qingluo took a deep breath and smiled. Mu Yi, I believe that one day little Nine will understand us. Let's go back first. Little Nine is still angry now, and she refuses to meet anyone. We only have to wait until she has calmed down. Mu Yi stared at Qingluo's wretched appearance. He knew what had happened to her, and his eyes were filled with pain. Little Nine's temper is getting worse, and fortunately, Qingluo is kind and understanding. Otherwise, it would be difficult to deal with both of them. She is, after all, a princess who should be respected, but little Nine is so inconsiderate. It seems that I have to teach her well in the future. He was afraid that he would not be able to protect his daughter once the emperor knew about this matter. Alright, since little Nine is still angry, I'll come back to her next time. Princess, let's go back. Princess Qingluo smiled, but as she followed Mu Yi, she could not help but turn her head back. She looked at the closed gate coldly. However, the coldness soon disappeared, and a gentle smile appeared upon her face. Old Lady Mu had been waiting at the manor for a long time, and Mu Qingya was standing by her side. Me for extra chapters. When the old lady saw the two people who came together, she could not help but smile. However, she still put on her fierce face and slammed the walking stick in her hand hard against the ground. Mu Yi, did you just go to find that little wild bastard? Little wild bastard made Mu Yi frown. He smiled helplessly and said, Mother, she is my daughter, not a wild bastard. I don't care. Those who don't get the approval of my Mu family are wild bastard. Old Lady Moo sneered, I've long heard that the girl is very wild. I will never allow her to enter my family, and have you forgotten what you promised me yesterday? When I wasn't around, you went to find that little bastard again. The old lady's face was as cold as water when she said that. Old Lady Moo froze for a moment. She was just focusing on blaming Moo Yi and did not notice Princess Qing Luo at the side. It was not until she heard these words from Mu Qingya that she noticed Qing Luo was in a mess. Her dress was dirty and disheveled, and her hair was messy like she had just been beaten. Mu Yi, if you still want this family and still respect me as your mother, then get rid of her immediately. Old Lady Mu's face remained cold. Otherwise, I don't want to see you in my Mu family again, and you won't be my son anymore. Mu Yi closed his eyes sorrowfully, trembled, and opened his eyes slowly. Mother, I understand, as a son, he could only bear with his mother's temper. After all, he only had one mother in this world. He had never been afraid of anyone in this life except his mother, Old Lady Mu. Therefore, seeing Old Lady Mu's angry face, Mu Yi could only hold back many things he wanted to say. He pondered for a moment before saying, Mother, let's go back and talk about it. However, just as he tried to hold Old Lady Mu's arms, she raised her hand and pushed him away. Her face was cold. Mu Yi, who hurt Princess Qing Luo that you still want to cover her like this? Qing Luo had previously gone to that wild girl, and so had Mu Yi, so it was clear who had hurt Qing Luo. It was just that she did not expect that Mu Yi would still protect that girl at this kind of time. Mother, Mu Qingya looked at Princess Qing Luo, surprised. She frowned and said helplessly, How can you be so careless? I remember that you wanted to meet sister. How can you fall down in front of her? Sister might think you fell because you didn't eat well in our manor and didn't have enough energy. Then, would sister be willing to come back? She had already told Old Lady Mu that her mother had gone to look for little Nine. Seeing that Princess Qing Luo was injured, it must have been because of little Nine. Even though Old Lady Mu had already guessed it, her face grew dark with anger when she heard Mu Qingjia's words. It must be that little bastard. Qingya, why are you still speaking up for her? Your father is an asshole. Princess Qing Luo is such a good wife. He doesn't know how to protect her, but he still protects that little bastard. Old Lady Mu's body was trembling with anger. Standing before her was Fengyin Kingdom's princess, a woman of noble status. That little bastard dared to hurt her, and Mu Yi did not even defend his wife. Qing Luo looked at how ashamed Mu Yi seemed. She then turned to Old Lady Mu and smiled gently. Mother, it is not Mu Yi's fault. I accidentally fell, so you do not need to blame him. Mu Yi usually treats me very well, and he will not hurt me just for others. Don't worry, Mother, me for extra chapters. Old Lady Mu snorted coldly, there is no way you'll trust him. I want you to kick that bastard out of this place tomorrow. Mu Yi looked up at Old Lady Mu in shock. Mother. Little Nine was also her granddaughter. He never understood why she hated her so much. Even if he had gone against her wishes back then, it should be him who was at fault. Why should he let a child bear the burden? All these years, he had already owed her a lot. Now, he just wanted to do everything that he could to make it up to her. Was it wrong? He had already agreed not to take her back to his manor, so why did she still want to drive her away after she had been away from home for so many years? You must drive little Nine out in these few days so grandmother will not be angry anymore. After saying this, Mu Qingya walked toward the courtyard, and in the blink of an eye, she disappeared from King Luo's sight. Imperial Palace. An old man in a bright yellow robe was reading the documents inside the imperial study. A group of eunuchs stood behind him, silent. Just at this moment, someone rushed into the imperial study, and his voice was filled with anxiety. Princess Qingluo, send someone to drive little Nine away. Old Lady Mu said with a cold and sullen face. Qingluo slightly froze. She subconsciously looked at Mu Yi, somewhat hesitant. Mother, don't worry. Mu Yi will not cause trouble with you because this is my decision. Old Lady Mu stubbed her walking stick to the ground and turned to leave, not even glancing at Mu Yi again. Mu Qingya went forward, holding Qingluo, and looked at Mu Yi helplessly. Father, what should we do now? Grandmother doesn't like sister, and she can't accept her. What if she falls sick from her anger? Mu Yi's lips trembled. He then turned to Qingluo with hope in his eyes. Qingluo, you are the princess, and my mother has always listened to you. Why don't you persuade her again? When old Lady Mu was around just now, he did not dare to ask Qingluo for that favor. After all, old Lady Mu's temper was so intense that she refused to back down. Qingluo stiffened and lowered her gaze, a cold smile playing upon her lips. Only that smile was well hidden and not seen by Mu Yi. But, she never thought that up until now, Mu Yi was still protecting little Nine. That girl is so rude. I don't know what makes Mu Yi so fond of her. Qingluo looked up at Mu Yi. You know your mother's temper. I want little Nine to be here, too, but mother's health is not very good these days. I do not want to make her angry. Mu Yi, do you want to let little Nine stay? Even if it makes mother sad. Her gaze was serious, and she looked at Mu Yi earnestly. Mu Yi's face sank as he looked up ahead. Not far from there was the courtyard where the 9th emperor lived. After a long time, he turned around and walked into his manor without saying a word. He looked so depressed. However, after he left, Princess Qingluo's expression changed instantly. She stared coldly in the direction he went. A cold light flashed in her eyes. Little Nine. This bastard should not have come back. Me for extra chapters. Mother, Mu Qingya pursed her lips. It looks like father can't let go of little Nine. Princess Qingluo laughed. Though he can't, he must let go of her. Your grandmother doesn't like her, so she can't stay in this place. Mu Qingya did not say anything. She lowered her gaze, and the young man's handsome face suddenly appeared in her mind again. He was so beautiful that her heart pounded at the thought of it. However, in that young man's eyes, there was only little Nine. No other woman could replace her in his heart. Yet, to Mu Qingya, everything was possible on this mainland. Those who were strong enough could snatch everything from others. Including men, too. Mu Qingya took a deep breath and smiled elegantly. Mother, I will go to see father first. Many people want to find her, and she has quite a few enemies. Besides, after helping Dongfangyu, she must be treated with respect. We must not let these people turn against our Fengyun kingdom. The old emperor pondered for a moment more before continuing. The 9th emperor has always been protective. If we provoke Dongfangyu, I am afraid that the 9th emperor will not even forgive us anymore. Can you understand? Emperor, I understand and know what to do, Sima Yan said smilingly. The old emperor raised his head and looked at the person who walked into the imperial study. Then, he asked with a frown, does the general have something to report? The person who appeared in the imperial study room was Sima Yan, the great general of Fengyun Kingdom, who was already over 100 years old, but he still looked strong and powerful. Emperor, Sima Yan put his fist to his palm and said, guess who I saw when I went out today? Who? Do you still remember the Dongfang family that was exterminated before? The Dongfang family. The old emperor paused and looked at Sima Yan contemplatively. A few years ago, a few major forces bullied men and women. A young master of the Dongfang family, Dongfanging, saw the situation and took action to stop them. Who knew that his actions had angered those forces? The entire Dongfang family was then killed, and only Dongfang Yu survived. Dongfang Yu was so lucky that she could survive that battle. The Dongfang family members died protecting her, and she became the enemy's last target. However, fortunately, the 9th emperor passed by and saved her life. Everyone in this land knew that Dongfang Yu was the 9th emperor's people, but no one had seen the 9th emperor's real face. Now that Dongfang Yu had appeared here, did it mean? The old emperor rose abruptly, his face was filled with excitement. Find Dongfang Yu now. I want to know where she is within 3 days. The 9th emperor was the strongest person on this mainland. She was different from those major forces who claimed themselves righteous. Those people were more evil than criminals. They loved to fight for power and constantly bullied the weak. However, this action had become a custom among those forces. One with no power was not qualified to fight with those people. Me for extra chapters. And those major forces never cared about others. Fortunately, those major forces could only bully people, but their power could not destroy a kingdom. However, the 9th emperor was different from those forces. She was the only one who would protect the weak. Everyone under the sky worshipped her like a god, and some even deliberately made the forces hunt them just to attract the 9th emperor. Unfortunately, the 9th emperor had always worn masks. So up until now, no one could see her real face. This had been the regret in the people's hearts. Now hearing Dongfang Yu's appearance in this place, the old emperor's body trembled from excitement, and his eyes lit up. Sima Yan put his fist to his palm again and said respectfully, "Yes, Emperor." One more thing, the old emperor paused for a moment before saying, "Don't let others know that the 9th emperor appeared here." Mainly she was too picky about wine and would never take a sip if it is not a spirit wine. Compared to meals, she could accept any dishes as long as they could fill her stomach. Of course, this was before she met Nan Changfeng. Now that she had tasted Nan Changfeng's cooking, even the restaurant's food was a little hard to swallow. The 9th emperor placed her hand under her chin. She wanted to keep Nan Changfeng by her side for the rest of her life and let him do chores for her. Nan Changfeng took the spirit wine that she had placed in front of him and poured it in the cups for both of them as he smiled. "This wine smells so nice." One was able to get drunk just from smelling it. The 9th emperor smiled, brought the wine in front of her, and drank it all in one go. Nan Changfeng only put it to his mouth and took a sip suddenly. The 9th emperor sitting in front of him fell over with a thud and lay motionlessly on the ground, her cheeks reddened. Nan Changfeng put the cup down and turned to the drunken 9th emperor, slightly stunned. After Sima Yan left, the old emperor paced back and forth in the imperial study, looking a bit agitated. The eunuch smiled and said, "Emperor, I heard that the 9th emperor has always been very good-tempered. As long as we do not provoke her, she will treat us nicely. So, Emperor, you need not be so anxious. I am just curious as to why the 9th emperor would come to Fengyun Kingdom." The old emperor stopped pacing and looked around the imperial study. But this is indeed an opportunity for Fengyun Kingdom. Normally, there is no way to see her at all, and I never thought we would be so lucky to see her now. Dongfang Yu had only been down the mountain once since she left with the 9th emperor. Back then, she was also following the 9th emperor, but not to Fengyun Kingdom. Therefore, now that Dongfang Yu appeared here, it was inevitable that the 9th emperor was also here. This made him cautious. Moreover, the 9th emperor had always been generous. If she were happy, naturally, she would reward him with spirit herbs, thus improving Fengyun Kingdom's strength by a lot. "Pass on my orders." The old emperor's face was cold. During this time, you must strictly guard the kingdom and must not let anyone cause any chaos or bring trouble to the ninth emperor. Yes, Emperor. The old eunuch bowed and left the imperial study smilingly. Now, only the old emperor was left in the room. He wanted to continue to read the official documents, but he could not calm his mind, and finally, he put the brush down on the table and stopped reading. Compared to the excitement inside the palace, the ninth emperor did not yet know that because Dongfang Yu had left for a while, some people had already known that she was here. She was now still enjoying her last moments of peace. Nan Changfeng stood next to her. The young man wore a white robe, as handsome as an immortal. His smile was so stunning, and his long silver hair brushed the ninth emperor's cheeks in the breeze, causing her to be slightly stunned as she raised her gaze to look at Nan Changfeng. Changfeng, do you want to accompany me for a couple of drinks? She took out a wine jug and placed it in front of Nan Changfeng, smiling. Nan Changfeng sat in front of her, again, with a smile upon his handsome face. All right. Hearing these words from Nan Changfeng, the ninth emperor took out 2 cups and placed them in front of them. Me for extra chapters. The wine was a spirit wine, and its fragrance was strong. The fragrance wafted throughout the courtyard and did not dissipate for a long time. These wines are all homemade. The only thing I am interested in is making wine. She found out that the person in front of her was too beautiful and no one in this world could be more beautiful than him. Thawed. The ninth emperor pushed Nan Changfeng to the ground. She brushed her long red dress and sat on his body. Beauty, would you like to follow me? She smiled stunningly as she touched the young man's chin. A young girl in a red dress lay on the ground with shoulders half exposed, revealing that delicate collarbone. Her skin was so fair, and her drunk red face made her look even more attractive. Nan Changfeng stood up and walked toward the young girl slowly. He then bent down and wanted to pick up the young girl from the ground. However, the ninth emperor suddenly opened her eyes. Her gaze was still a little dazed, but it suddenly became focused when she saw Nan Changfeng. A man. Why is there a man in my place? Where's Dongfang Yu? Tian Xian. Let them serve me. Nan Changfeng was speechless. The smile upon his face gradually froze. He tightened his hands around the ninth emperor's waist and turned to look in the direction where Dongfang Yu and the others had just left. A cold light flashed in his eyes. However, when he turned to the ninth emperor, the coldness immediately disappeared and was replaced by a gentle light. I'll take you to rest. Go away. The ninth emperor raised her beautiful long legs and kicked Nan Changfeng in the chest, sending him back a few steps. However, the young man's hand was still tightly wrapped around her waist as if afraid that she might accidentally fall. Get out immediately. The ninth emperor's face was cold, and her voice was not even as gentle as before. Nan Changfeng frowned and looked at the girl in front of him. He seemed somewhat helpless. I am a woman. The ninth emperor was slightly stunned and stopped kicking him. She stared at Nan Changfeng and frowned as if she was thinking of something. Nan Changfeng's silver hair looked so beautiful. She touched his hair and stared at him carefully. Look at my hair, Nan Changfeng smiled, and look at my face. I'm a woman. The ninth emperor stared intently at Nan Changfeng, seeing how stunning he was. Indeed, he really looked like a woman. Me for extra chapters. Oh, so you're a woman. The ninth emperor smiled and moved closer to Nan Changfeng, raising her hand and patting his handsome features. Are you new here? So beautiful. I want to sleep with you when I look at you. Nan Changfeng froze when the ninth emperor's hand reached his chest. Flat. In that instant, the ninth emperor's face darkened, and her gaze seemed to carry a storm. Are you lying to me? Nan Changfeng stiffened. I'm just flat-chested. Perhaps his stunning face made the ninth emperor hesitate for a moment but trust him. Furthermore, with his beautiful face, whether he was a male or female, she still wanted to sleep with him. She raised her hand and pulled Nan Chongfeng closer to her. The two were so close that they could even feel each other's breath. The ninth emperor pondered for a while but still spoke out and asked, "What did I do to you? You said you would marry me and bring me home." The ninth emperor was speechless. "You also dragged me to bed and took off my clothes." With each sentence that Nan Chongfeng uttered, the ninth emperor's expression grew more anxious. Her eyes flickered a few times as if she was thinking of how to get out of it later. But Nan Chongfeng smiled. "You fell asleep after you took off my clothes." Once he said that, the ninth emperor quickly sighed in relief. Fortunately, she had not done those beastly things to Nan Chongfeng. Otherwise, it would be impossible to run away from it. Nan Chongfeng moved closer to the ninth emperor. The moonlight poured upon his handsome face, making him look more stunning. Her eyes were so overbearing, and if it were not for the redness on her cheeks, no one would have noticed that she was drunk. Yes, she was drunk. Otherwise, she would never do such things to Nan Chongfeng. Nan Chongfeng looked at the ninth emperor, who was striding on his abdomen. He smiled gently and said, "It's cold here. Let's go back to the room." However, she did not respond to him. Nan Chongfeng waited for a long time. He then looked at her again and found that the ninth emperor had fallen asleep. He smiled helplessly and took the ninth emperor into his arms. He got up from the floor and walked toward the room. Only after placing the ninth emperor on the bed did he turn around and walk toward the door. When Nan Chongfeng walked out of the door, the smile on his face gradually disappeared, and his eyes were filled with coldness. So she will get drunk every time she drinks the wine. And when she's drunk, she will always do such things to other women. He pursed his lips. Qingzhu, a green snake, slowly poked its head out of his sleeve and asked suspiciously, "Master, what's wrong? Go and scare Dongfang Yu and the others." Qingzhu was shocked. It hesitated for a moment. "Master, I don't think it's a good idea. Do I look like someone who would do such a thing? Asking me to scare women. Where is my dignity as the king of the snake?" Nan Chongfeng glanced at Qingzhu coldly, scaring it and making it tremble. "All right, master." In the middle of the night, the sound of a scream echoed through the whole courtyard, causing the leaves to rustle and the birds to scatter. The ninth emperor slowly woke up and rubbed her temples. She turned around and suddenly felt an arm next to her. She was so shocked that she hurriedly withdrew her hand and looked at the young man lying next to her. She then lifted her leg and kicked Nan Chongfeng off the bed. Nan Chongfeng rolled off the bed before he woke up. He stood up from the floor and brushed his beautiful silver hair. "Nan Chongfeng, you climbed into my bed again." The young man looked at the ninth emperor pitifully. "Can't you remember what you did yesterday?" The ninth emperor froze. She knew that she was not a good drinker, but she loved to drink and really could not control it because her wine was so delicious. Me for extra chapters. She had never done anything wrong when she was drunk before, and she had not seen anyone complain about it. Yesterday. How could she have done something worse to Nan Chongfeng? The ninth emperor's face turned pale. Her eyes flickered as if she was thinking of something. "He wants me to be responsible? Impossible. I will not marry anyone in this life. Can I just abandon him?" She was terrified of snakes, and even though she was familiar with Qingzhu, she still could not accept it. "You have your master. Why are you looking for me?" Qingzhu blinked. "My master is not a woman. I want to sleep with a woman in my arms. Dongfang Yu froze. The slippery snake scale touched her skin, giving her goosebumps and making her cry even more miserable. Then, you can go to Tianxian. Why did you come to me? Qing Zhu laughed. That wolf girl is too fierce. I can only come to you. Chapter 21-21. The past life 46-inch. Did you just say you want to marry me? Really? The ninth emperor blinked. How can you trust a drunk man's words? But there is a saying that says people speak the truth when drunk. Maybe you have been planning to marry me, so you are saying it when you're drunk. That is for ordinary people. I am not an ordinary person, so don't take my words seriously. The ninth emperor smiled awkwardly. Nan Changfeng chuckled. A beautiful smile appeared upon his face as he brushed the ninth emperor's hair gently. But in taking it seriously, somehow, seeing the smile upon the young man's face, the ninth emperor's heart skipped a beat. That feeling came too suddenly, something that she had ever had before. She subconsciously controlled her nervousness and gritted her teeth. I just heard Dongfang Ye's voice. I have to see what happened to her. The ninth emperor stood up and just wanted to leave when Nan Changfeng pulled her arm. She stopped. She is just having a nightmare. There's no need to go. Really? The ninth emperor turned back and asked. Nan Changfeng smiled. I've asked Qing Zhu to check it out. She was only having a nightmare. It's already late, and it's better not to disturb her now. Oh, the ninth emperor felt relieved. So it was just a nightmare. I thought someone came to my place to bully my people. Since it was just a nightmare, I guess I don't have to go there. Sleep. Go back to your room. The ninth emperor yawned as sleepiness hit her again. She slowly walked back to the bed and fell back to sleep. Nan Changfeng smiled faintly as he walked forward. This time, he did not go to bed, nor did he leave, but only looked at her from the bed with eyes filled with gentleness. In the other room, Dongfang Yu was curled up into a ball. There was a huge snake next to her. The green snake was as big as a human, wrapping itself around her body, scaring her. Dongfang Yu closed her eyes that were already filled with tears. Who would not be scared to death if a huge snake suddenly appeared in your room and was intensely staring into your eyes? Qing Zhu, have I offended you before? Why are you trying to scare me? Dongfang Yu cried out like a 200-pound child, looking so pitiful. Up until now, she had not even been able to get over it. Me for extra chapters. You did not offend me. It's just that, you've offended my master. Of course, Qing Zhu dare not say that out loud. It knew that the ninth emperor liked these girls very much. Its master would be beaten up if she knew what he had done. So, it paused for a moment and continued, it's just that I don't like to sleep alone, so I came to find you. Dongfang Ye's face turned paler. I met him once when I was a child. After the Dongfang family was destroyed, I followed you and left. We have not seen each other since then. I did not expect him to recognize me. Dongfang Yu pursed her lips and asked, everyone knows that I'm yours. If he saw me, will it bring you trouble? Over the years, the ninth emperor had offended many powerful people. Those who wanted to find out the ninth emperor's identity did not succeed. If it was exposed because of her, would it not bring trouble to the ninth emperor? Chapter 21-22. The past life 47. The wolf girl was too fierce, and it could only come to scare Dongfang Yu. These two offended its master. Qing Zhu had already gone to find Tianxian, but she was a wolf and had a violent nature, so how would she be afraid of snakes? She would beat it up and throw it out on the spot. Fortunately, Dongfang Yu did not let it down, otherwise, it could not even go back to its master. Its master might have thought it was useless and would make it into a snake soup. Dongfang trembled hard when she saw Qing Zhu refusing to leave. She could not sleep for the whole night. The next day, Qing Zhu finally let go of her. She then saw the ninth emperor standing in the courtyard. She cried out painfully and rushed to the ninth emperor with eyes filled with tears. The ninth emperor patted her head comfortingly. "It's all right. It was just a bad dream. Everything will be fine." "A bad dream?" Dongfang was dumbfounded. That snake, indeed, was her nightmare. Ninth Emperor, last night, before she could say more, she saw Qing Zhu wandering slowly over. This snake had returned to its initial size, from human-like size, into a small green snake, no longer as scary as last night. Dongfang met its eyes and could not help but shiver. This snake's gaze was like a warning. If she dared to report it to the ninth emperor, it would go to her room again today. So, as she swallowed what she was about to say and smiled helplessly. "I'm fine. It's just that the dream last night was so horrible that I still haven't calmed down." "Well, it's good that you're fine then." The ninth emperor stroked her head and smiled. "Later, ask Qing Zhu to take you out for a walk." That made Dongfang's face instantly turn pale. She hesitated for a moment. "I am afraid of snakes. You hate it." The ninth emperor raised her eyebrows. "Qing Zhu is very well behaved and will not bite anyone. Look at its size. It's so small, so there is nothing to be afraid of." Qing Zhu looked at Dongfang proudly. That gaze seemed to say that she could not escape from it anymore. Me for extra chapters. As expected, Dongfang's face became even paler. After all, the ninth emperor paused for a moment. In that small body, it would die easily if you stepped on it. Then, you can bring it back and make snake soup out of it. Qing Zhu's smile froze. It subconsciously took a few steps back, turned around, and ran away. "This woman is too scary and wants to kill me." After seeing that Qing Zhu had left, Dongfang quietly breathed a sigh of relief. She smiled and said, "Ninth Emperor, I met an acquaintance when I was in Fengyun Kingdom's imperial city earlier." "An acquaintance?" "Well, it's the great general of Fengyun Kingdom." If it were not for the fact that Dongfang left too quickly back then, she would not have gotten away so quickly. Sima Yan hurriedly went out. He was so excited at the thought that he would meet Dongfang again. Dongfang stopped in front of a stall. She frowned as she looked at the people standing in front of her. There were an old woman and a young girl. Dongfang had met the young girl before. It was Mu Qingya. The old woman. She pondered for a while and finally remembered her. She must be the old lady of the Mu family. Mu Qingya looked at Dongfang and smiled. "Grandmother, this is the girl who was with little Nine." Chapter 21-23. The Past Life 48. The ninth emperor leaned lazily against the pillar of the pavilion, staring at Dongfang. "Don't worry. I don't want to reveal my face, and I don't want to go out there, but it doesn't mean that I'm afraid of those people." She usually appeared as the ninth emperor, wearing a mask, and did not want people to see her face. However, she would occasionally go down the mountain for food and fun, and if the people found her here, she was only afraid that it would affect her mood. Therefore, this was why she did not show her face, and that did not mean that she was afraid of those people. "Oh, that's good." Dongfang breathed a sigh of relief. She hesitated for a moment, wanting to say something, but she still could not say it. It was not until a few moments later that she asked, "Ninth Emperor, have you got any news about your mother?" The ninth emperor narrowed her eyes and smiled faintly. "Not yet. These few days, you can wander around to try to find out what happened back then. She was still young when her mother disappeared back then. Mu-Yi and Old Lady Mu both said that she was dead. However, she knew that her mother was still alive. She had left this place for more than 20 years without saying anything. Up until now, she still had not found out her whereabouts. Yes, Ninth Emperor, Dongfang Yu replied respectfully, and there was a smile in her eyes. The Ninth Emperor still trusted them to handle these tasks and did not give them to Nan Chongfeng. Did it prove that in the Ninth Emperor's mind, they were still more reliable? And Nan Chongfeng was only a servant. Dongfang Yu smiled happily as she thought about this. She then turned around and walked out of the courtyard. At that moment, Dongfang Yu did not know that the entire imperial city had been strictly guarded, and many people were looking for her. General manner, since the day he saw Dongfang Yu, he reported to the emperor and even sent most of his men and guards to find her, but it was all in vain. Suddenly, a guard hurriedly walked in from the door and said respectfully, "General, the girl you asked us to look for. Someone has already found her." What? The cup Sima Yan was holding fell to the floor and shattered. He stood up joyfully. Is this true? It is indeed true. Now, she is buying food at Yingfeng Street. I've sent someone to follow her, me for extra chapters. Good. The smile on Sima Yan's face grew wider. Take me to her now. A few days ago, he had recognized Dongfang Yu with just a hasty glance from the back. However, without waiting for him to go up to her, she had already left. Even with just a glance, he was still able to recognize her. Even if Mu-Yi accepts her, I will not accept her, ever. Dongfang Yu's face grew colder. If not for the fact that this old lady was the Ninth Emperor's grandmother, she would have already done something nasty to her. The old lady Mu smiled coldly. One more thing. She must leave Fengyun Kingdom within 2 days. Otherwise, I will ask the guards to expel her. She does not need to wait for Mu-Yi to ask her to leave. It is me who does not want her to stay, and it has nothing to do with Princess Qingluo. She paused and continued, a few days ago, she had dared to attack Princess Qingluo because she knew Mu-Yi would back her up. She had even accused Princess Qingluo in front of Mu-Yi. Doesn't she know who she is? How dare she offend Princess Qingluo? Chapter 21-24, The Past Life 49. After hearing Mu Qingjia's words, Old Lady Mu turned to Dongfang Yu and scanned her up and down. Her gaze was cold and serious. You are the person with little 9. She sneered. You do look like a countryside bumpkin. So uncultured. How dare you not kneel when you see noble lady? At this moment, Dongfang Yu still had cookies in her mouth and almost choked. She looked at Old Lady Mu in dismay and a little shocked. This old lady wants me to kneel. She wants me to kneel in front of this girl. Since she had been with the Ninth Emperor, everyone had always treated her with respect. When had anyone ever dared to be so arrogant to her? Therefore, she was a bit dazed for a moment and did not react. She was simply staring at the old lady in shock. The old lady's face darkened. You're still not kneeling. In Fengyun Kingdom, not kneeling to the imperial family is disrespectful. Kneel immediately. The old lady sounded arrogant, and her gaze was stern and sharp like a knife. Dongfang Yu swallowed the food in her mouth and frowned as she pointed at herself. You are asking me to kneel. Who else am I speaking to if not you? Is there anyone else here? The old lady smiled coldly. You, little girl, are so rude, just like your master. Even if little 9 is here, she must kneel to Qingya. Whether Qingya and her are sisters or not, there is still a difference between the imperial family and commoners. Little 9 was also Mu-Yi's daughter, but her status was different. Qingya came from the imperial family, while little Nine was only a commoner. There was a difference between them, so she must kneel. In that instant, Dongfang's face sank. She looked up at Old Lady Mu coldly. For a moment, Old Lady Mu froze in terror that she quickly took a few steps back. She almost fell, but fortunately, Mu Qingya hurriedly held her, steadying her. It took a few seconds for Old Lady Mu to come back to her senses and laugh coldly. Me for extra chapters. It seems that I'm already old that a little girl almost bullied me. How ridiculous. Grandmother, Mu Qingya saw that people were looking at them. She smiled and said, even though there is a difference between the imperial family and commoners. We are not in the emperor's son-in-law's manor, nor in the palace, after all. You do not have to mention that here. I am not the kind of person who will oppress others with power. The old lattice expression was still cold, but she loved Mu Qingya and respected her. She sneered and said, I'll let this little girl go today for Qingya's reputation. You go back and tell little Nine that she doesn't deserve to live in the emperor's son-in-law's manor. This old woman had provoked her a few times, and she could not tolerate her anymore. Tears flowed down Mu Qing's face. A wave of violent anger surged out of Mu Yi's heart. He looked up, and his gaze fell upon Dongfang Yu. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.